Well, good morning. Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith, and how are you all today? In my last video, I talked about what I have come to believe is the very real possibility of a revolution in America and the United States. It's gone, in my opinion, from the unthinkable to almost the inevitable. And there are many reasons. Most of you know what those reasons are. You've followed along with them. If you're just now kind of, coming on board with us and understanding what's going on, good for you. Stick with it because we are coming into some times, I think, that are historical, that none of us wanted to see come, that are going to be horrendous, but that may, in the eyes of some, be necessary. And as I say, inevitable. Whether we want it to happen or not, if it does happen, we're going to have to deal with it. And I want to start addressing that in this one today, and that is surviving a revolution. This is not a channel to where we come on and we try to promote anything like that. And so if you're new to us, that's not what we do here. This is a preparedness channel. And while I do put a number of things over on the Patreon channel that will further illuminate, things as they're happening in the world, here on this channel, I want to concentrate on you being able to protect yourself in the midst of what may happen. Most of you have not been in a revolution. I haven't been in the middle of a revolution, even though I've studied them quite a bit, and some of you may have too. Some of you have been in third world countries. Some of you have been in the collapse of governments and societies. You know what that can be like. And you know the danger it presents for not just those who are directly involved in the actions, but the population. And that's what I want to address here. If you haven't taken this stuff serious before, it's time to start taking it seriously now. I'm going to give you a peek into, for those of you who are not with us on Patreon, I want to give you a peek into some of the things that we address over on Patreon. I'm going to read a couple of posts from our patrons over there, and it's going to help kind of illuminate and direct us in what I want to talk about, preparing to survive this. First, I want to read a few quotes here that I picked up about revolution to help everyone understand kind of what might be coming, or the causes of it. The first is from Lenin, Vlad Lenin, not John Lennon. He says, "There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen." And he's referring back to the Russian Revolution, that it did for years and years and years. Things will develop, and it seems like nothing of any import is happening. And then all of a sudden, bam, there it is. And that's why you have to be ready. You have to be. If you're not ready, you need to get ready. The second, Aristotle said that poverty is the parent of revolution. We've talked about this before. And I've said that there's no way that America is not ready for that because people are too comfortable. They're too happy. You can't get enough people, or enough people won't, and not like I'm trying to get them there. Enough people will not be mad and unhappy enough at the same time for any kind of revolutionary movement to grow. Well, in my last video, I explained that I think that at this point that has changed, that there are a sufficient number of people angry enough that you don't know what could happen. The third one is JFK, John F. Kennedy. He said, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable." And if we replace, if we think about replacing the word revolution with the word Oh, how should we say this? That our political efforts are made impossible for whatever reason. You all know what I'm talking about there. When politics fails, let me change his wording to this: when politics fails, violent revolution becomes inevitable. Okay, that's where I believe we've gotten to, folks. Now I want to read you a couple of comments from over on our Patreon channel by a couple of our top commenters. And it's going to direct you, I think, well, it will set up what I want to talk about next, and that is how you need to prepare for revolution, how you need to prepare to survive if a revolution happens in our country, and I think that's very possible. Okay, the first one is from Kevin Altepeter. He's one of our top commenters. He says, "It is my belief that there are elites that operate outside and above governments. These dark controllers play with the world leaders as their minions and puppets. These evil entities have now decided to cash in on the games they are playing and downsize their operations. To accomplish this, governments must fail and as many people as possible must die. Look at how long these evil monsters have been at this. Through wars all through history, these entities have built up resources and their powers by playing both sides of every major conflict." That's right. "From these systems, these monsters build wealth by starting wars, making profits through the industries required to support the fighting with machinery and equipment production, tax the people to fund this, then, when the dust settles, rebuild back up what they have instituted the destruction of, creating debt to those regions previously destroyed, and make even more revenue from that process." Did you all follow all of that? Did you follow the brilliance in that and all of the things it covered in one simple sentence with a few commas? Do you understand exactly what that means? If you don't, I encourage you to rewind it, play it again as many times as you need to, and think about it. You will discover the truth behind what's happening. Now that their bunkers, this is Kevin continuing, now that their bunkers and underground cities are set up all over the world, it's time to cull the herd. We are that herd. This flood of illegal immigrants into America is another stage of the process of that culling. The hidden powers believe they no longer need America to use as their pawn in this insane game. They are flooding the country with more people than our systems can possibly support. People will start starving, riots will break out everywhere, and these elite cockroaches will hide in their bunkers while society crashes and burns. After the world is reduced to Mad Max levels, most are dead and resistance is low enough, they will come out of hiding to clean up the mess. There will be the elite globalist group that are masters of the world, and anyone else allowed to live will exist as slave labor. This is their plan. I have been telling anyone who I believe are intelligent enough to fathom this scary reality this for many years. People have not shunned me for thinking like this, but at the same time, most have not taken me seriously until the last 3 years. Now the coming darkness is too factual to continue to be ignored. People I do business with and have connection to are asking questions that they have never asked me before. But how can I put together the scope of my viewpoints that I have collected knowledge to obtain through decades of study and a preponderance of all that information to formulate conclusions from in just a few minutes I have with them? I can't. Most people are not going to see their demise until there is nothing they can do to save themselves. Kevin is exactly right. and replay that if you'd like to, so you get the full depth of that. And this is the perfect time for me to say, share this video with as many people as you can that you know that need to hear this message. The second one comes from Triple G. Triple G is another one of our top level commenters. He posts a lot of stuff over on the community section, in the community section of the Patreon channel. Again, for those of you who are with us on Patreon, if you don't regularly check the community section, you are missing out on a lot. For those of you who aren't with us on Patreon at all, you're missing a lot, and it's become more and more important that you get the information that is on Patreon that can't be put on YouTube. I also see at this point that from here on out, I have mirror sites on Rumble for both integrative preparedness and American reversion. The links will be down below, but I would suggest that you go ahead and subscribe to those in case things are taken down here on YouTube, because some of you are watching this on Rumble already. Many people have gone over there, and there will also be things that I'll be able to take through that platform into Patreon as well that will never go through YouTube. Okay, Triple G says, honestly, the country is so far gone that recovering it may not happen. I agree, and I'm going to be talking, after I'm done with this one, I'm going to be making a second video for American reversion where I ask the question, can America be saved? I'll give you the short answer right now, no, it can't. It can't. For those of you who have read John Glubb's Fate of Empires, we're in the last days of that. I've talked about this before. I've written about it in my books. Read that if you haven't. You can find a PDF on it for free just Google it. So he says, I'll back up here. Honestly, so join us over on American Reversion if you want to go down that path, because that also is important. So I want to start off because I kind of jumped in the middle of Triple G's statement here. It says, honestly, the country is so far gone that recovering it may not happen. We are already in the collapse. That's right. It just going along at 1/20th speed right now. I suspect a revolution today will not look like anything in the past, but will start on social media. He's right, and Triple G is one smart guy. I won't go into his background here, but he is one smart guy, and I keep hoping that he will develop his own channel because he has a lot to say and a lot to teach, and a lot of people can learn from him. Okay, one of his very important statements there was that he doesn't know what a revolution would look like today, but it would be horrible. And I agree. And he says that he thinks it will start on social media. I agree with that as well. You look back into the days, and this is really getting more of what I'll be addressing in American Reversion, but I'll give you just a bit of this. You look what happened at the beginning of the American Revolution, and it was information. This is where the people who don't like to be on social media are shortchanging themselves and everyone else. In the old days, it was the pamphleteers, right? It was the people who secretly put out the pamphlets. And then, in a greater way, that was fighting for the hearts and minds of the people. That is what set up the success of that revolution. And social media is that today. I tell you what, I've put a couple of things over on both of the Patreon channels, on both American Reversion and this one, Integrative Preparedness, that are so on the mark. And you know where they're from? They're both from TikTok. TikTok. I know a lot of people that say, I won't have anything to do with TikTok because they are Chinese. I used to feel that way. I felt that way. A member of our group used to send stuff out in TikTok. For a while, I wouldn't even open it because I wanted nothing to do because it was all Chinese spy stuff. You think all this stuff isn't spy stuff? If they want it to be, it is. What I found that he was sending out stuff that nobody else was seeing, and it was true. And it was true. My 16-year-old son knows more about what's going on in the world and our country than most of people 3 times his age. You know why? Because everybody his age is on TikTok. If you refuse to know, if you refuse to learn, if you refuse to hear information because of its source, you're making a vital mistake. It is one of the most basic mistakes of basic intelligence. Take all information in, compare it with all other information that you know, and you will eventually find the truth. Don't keep something away because you have been told by people that you shouldn't trust that it's a bad source. Ask yourself, is there a reason they don't want me hearing this? Is there a reason they don't want me seeing this? Okay. So anyway, this is a social media out there, whether it's your Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, all these things. Like Triple G says, if a revolution starts, that's where it's going to begin, social media. So you should stay on top of that. Stay in touch, know what's going on in social media so that you will see the signs so you can protect yourself, so you can prepare and protect yourself within and from a revolution, okay? Because we're not here fomenting revolution. We are here talking about how do you prepare to survive a revolution. Of course, you can think that it's basics. I always talk about, if you've been with me very long, you've heard me say that the principles of integrative preparedness is to enable you to live a quality life independent of those external systems over which you have little or no control, of power, of food production, of defense, of shelter, of all of those things. You need to develop a better stance, a better position to sustain yourself. Okay? If you think that you are in a place to where you can sustain whatever happens, congratulations, you're one of the few. Most people aren't like that. What I would say right now, and we can get into a broader brush, and maybe I will later, but I want to say the things that I think are imperative right now, because this is coming fast, this is coming hard. Increase your food stocks right now, as much as you can, as much as you can afford. Now, there are other things that are going to take some of your resources, so think about these things. Increase your food stocks. Increase your ability to produce food right now. It's the beginning of gardening season. If you garden, double it. That would be my advice. Triple it if you can. Okay. In the very first, I think it's the second or the third chapter of my first book, The Reversion. Jim Wyatt, the first lead character, is out there. The first thing he's doing when he gets home after the collapse is he's out increasing his garden 4 times. Okay, he's increasing it. He's quadrupling his gardening. That's what you need to do now. If you don't garden at all, start. Start right now. It's not that hard. Maybe I'll put something in about gardening. I'm going to put a few things in over on the Prepping for Prosperity, because growing food is like growing money. Okay, if you don't garden, go out. There's plenty of videos on YouTube. Start with something simple: tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and zucchini. And there's almost no way you can fail at those things with just some basic stuff. And you can start your first plants in 5-gallon buckets. Just learn how to do it. Okay. I don't know that I'll ever get around. I do in-ground. I do container. I do raised beds. I do all of it. Plus, I have fruit trees, berry bushes, a lot of herbs, a lot of vegetables, a lot of things. You start. And if you've already started, increase what you're doing right now. I'm putting this out in what, May, middle of May, something like that? Okay. You've got plenty of time to get in a great garden. Make sure you can feed yourself, because if a revolution starts, you know how a revolution is going to, maybe I'll save this for what I expect how that revolution might happen. Right now, I want to concentrate on how you should prepare for it. But it could be like it's not necessarily going to be troops walking down the streets. It's going to be the cutting off of areas and their services. You need to be able to survive without those external services. I don't know why I still have these on. I just got to talking. So increase your food storage, increase your food production, increase your water storage, store more water than you think you'll ever need. What would happen if the water got shut off right now? What would happen if, I'm not even going to say why, this isn't the venue for it. Now I'm going to save this stuff for Rumble. If all of a sudden your area of town got cut off, no more water coming, how would you do? How long would you last? Okay. Is there a water source close to you? Do you have the ability to purify it? Okay. Do you have enough not just to drink, but to clean, to cook with, and to water your garden? You know, depending on rain is not the best solution. The gardens do not do well in most areas. Now there are some, the very rainy areas, you'll be fine. But others who have to water their garden, you better have plenty of water to do it with. Do you have the tools that it takes to protect yourself? And you know what I mean by that. If you don't, get some now. Not one, get some now. And I address these things in more detail on Patreon. Okay? Again, there is a reason that I invite you to Patreon. It's not so I make $1, it's so that you will get for those who are really interested in preparing, so that you'll have the information. YouTube doesn't like that stuff, so I put it on Patreon. But get some, and get everything that goes with it, and then become proficient. Get training. Again, come to Patreon. I'll be doing things on that here in the very near future. Tighten up your groups. Tighten up your groups and your friendships. Sit down and take a good hard look at everyone that would be around you when everything falls apart. Who do you trust? Who do you trust 100%? It's going to be different for everybody. Some trust their families, their immediate families, more than anybody else. Okay? Some wouldn't trust their families any farther than they can throw them, but they have some friends they can trust. Make those notes in your head. Who do I trust? Who's the first one? Who's the one that I can call right now and talk about these things in more detail than Steve can talk about it on YouTube? I took that gulp because anybody that gulp offends or just can't stand it, you wouldn't survive the revolution anyway. So I'll do it again to wash the other one out that snuck in here under false pretenses. Think about that. Tighten up your group. Get with them. Discuss with them. Have a sit down. What do they think? What's going on in their mind? What do they think could happen? What are they prepared for? How can you help each other? You're going to find that different people have different ideas. You're going to find that no matter how smart you are, somebody is going to have an idea that you haven't thought of yet. That's important. Information is important. Community is vital. And then you start really combing through that group. And be very careful who you share information with. If you have doubts about anyone, You don't want to share anything with them that you don't want them putting out over all social media and screaming from their rooftop with a bullhorn. Simple as that. Okay. I'm going to get off here because I want to make the one for American reversion. All of these things are important. I'll tell you one thing also, for those of you who have not read my books, I would encourage you to read these. The Stonemont series. This is the complete guide, the complete plan for preparing for, surviving, and rebuilding after a complete collapse, whether that would be an EMP, a CME, a collapse of government, a revolution, a world war. As long, it will show you everything that you can do to possibly prepare. And if your preparations are successful, as I talk about in the series, how to start rebuilding and what to think about. It's a great story. It's a story about people. It's a story about community. It contains within it all the things, the horrible things that can happen. It contains slavery and cannibalism and murders and all of the things that would happen in the collapse of a society, societal collapse. It includes parts where the government tries to come and take their supplies and how they handle that. It's a series in which the good people win, because I like good people winning. And it shows how the good people take care of the bad people, but also take care of themselves. It's the Stonemont series, the reversion, the revival, the renewal and appeal to heaven, the blessings of freedom, and hostages to fortune. It's available both through Amazon. Down below, I put the links in paperback or Kindle, or it's available from me directly, autographed if you'd like, through our website, stonemont.us. Stonemont.us. And if you want to really have something kick you in the butt and give you new ideas while you're enjoying a story, and something that I just had somebody say that they've just completed the series 5 times, and every time they read it, they get more out of it. I've had people say they've bought multiple sets to give to friends so that they will read it. You need to read it. It's probably the best thing that you can do to prepare yourself for what's coming, if you will do, if you can, what I suggest and what I direct in these books. This will give you more of a head start than anything else out there. So, get those, read them, understand them, let them be your guide. Get ready. Understand that your survival is your responsibility. It's in your hands. And just like we say, we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, you're going to live tomorrow directly according to how you have prepared today. So, this is very possibly going to be coming. We have never been in a situation like this in our country since, well, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. I'll make a couple of comparisons. I could, but then people would argue with it, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Comparisons aren't what matters. The reality of today is what matters. So you guys, prepare. Keep track of what's going on. Join us over on Patreon because you will benefit from it. Remember, grab these while you can and share this with your friends. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.